We are continuing to read in the book of Genesis. We are in chapter 16 through 20. Again, I am reading out of the Interlinear Bible, chapter 16 of Genesis. And Sarai, Abram's wife, did not bear to him, and to her belonged a female slave, an Egyptian, and her name was Hagar. And Sarai said to Abram, See now, Jehovah has kept me from bearing. Go in now to my slave girl, perhaps I may be built up from her. And Abram listened to the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took her slave girl, Hagar, the Egyptian, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife after Abram had lived 10 years in the land of Canaan. And he went into Hagar, and she conceived. And she saw that she had conceived, and her mistress was despised in her eyes. And Sarai said to Abram, My injury be upon you. I gave my slave girl into your bosom, and she saw that she had conceived, and I was despised in her eyes. Let Jehovah judge between me and you. But Abram said to Sarai, See, your slave girl is in your hand. Do to her what is good in your eyes. And Sarai dealt harshly with her, and she fled from before her. And the angel of Jehovah found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way of Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's slave girl, where did you come from, and where do you go? And she said, I am fleeing from the face of my mistress, Sarai. And the angel of Jehovah said to her, Return to your mistress, and submit yourself under her hand. And the angel of Jehovah said to her, I will exceedingly multiply your seed, so that it shall not be numbered for multitude. And the angel of Jehovah said to her, See, you are with child, and shall bear a son, and you shall call his name Ishmael, because Jehovah has attended to your affliction. And he shall be a wild ass of a man, his hand against all, and the hand of everyone against him. And he shall live before all his brothers. And she called the name of Jehovah, the one speaking to her, You, a God of vision. For she said, Even here have I looked after the one seeing me. On account of this the well was called, the well of the living one, seeing me. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bore a son to Abram, and Abram called the name of his son, whom Hagar bore, Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to Abram. Genesis chapter 17. And when Abram was 99 years old, Jehovah appeared to Abram and said to him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be perfect, and I will make my covenant between me and you, and will multiply you exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and God spoke with him, saying, As for me, shall be a father of many nations, and your name shall be Abraham. For I have made you a father of many nations, and I will make you very fruitful, greatly so. And I will give you for nations, and kings shall come out of you. And I will establish my covenant between me and you, and your seed after you in their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God to you and to your seed after you. And I will give to you and your seed after you the land of your sojourning, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And God said to Abraham, You shall keep my covenant, you and your seed after you, in their generations. This is my covenant which you shall keep between me and you and your seed after you. Every man child among you shall be circumcised, and you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin. And it shall be a token of the covenant between me and you. And a son of 8 days shall be circumcised among you, every male in your generation. He that is born in the house, or bought with silver, from any son of a foreigner who is not of your seed. Surely the child of your house and the purchase of your money must be circumcised. My covenant shall be in your flesh for a perpetual covenant. And an uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, his soul shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. And God said to Abraham, You shall not call your wife Sarai by her name Sarai, for Sarah shall be her name. And I have blessed her, and have also given to you a son from her. Yes, I have blessed her, and she shall become nations. Kings of people shall be from her. And Abraham fell on his face and laughed. And he said in his heart, Shall a child be born to a son of 100 years? And shall Sarah bear a daughter of 99? And Abraham said to God, Oh, that Ishmael might live before you. And God said, Your wife Sarah truly shall bear you a son, and you shall call his name Isaac. And I have established my covenant with him for a perpetual covenant with his seed after him. And as to Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. He shall father 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. And I will establish my covenant with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear to you at this time next year. And he finished talking with him, and God went up from Abraham. And Abraham took his son Ishmael, and all the children of his house, and all that were bought with his silver, every male among the men of the house of Abraham. And he circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in that same day, even as God spoke to him. And Abraham was a son of 99 years, when being circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And his son Ishmael was a son of 13 years, when being circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. In the same day that Abraham was circumcised, so was Ishmael his son. And all the men of his house, born in the house or bought with silver from a son of a foreigner, were circumcised with him. Genesis chapter 18. And Jehovah appeared to him by the oaks of Mamre, and he was sitting at the door of the tent in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, 3 men were standing by him. And he saw, and he ran to meet them from the entrance of the tent. And he bowed to the ground. And he said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in your sight, I beg you, do not leave from near your servant. Please allow a little water to be taken, and you wash your feet, and rest under the tree. And I will bring a bite of bread, and will sustain your heart. Then you may pass on, for this is why you have passed over to your servant. And they said, Do so as you have said. And Abraham ran into the tent to Sarah and said, Hurry, prepare 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes. And Abraham ran to the herd and brought a son of the herd, tender and good, and gave it to a youth. And he hurried to prepare it. And he took curds and milk and the son of the herd, which he had prepared, and he set them before them. And he stood by them under the tree, and they ate. And they said to him, Where is your wife Sarah? And he said, See in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return to you at the time of life, and behold, a son shall be to your wife Sarah. And Sarah was listening at the entrance to the tent, and it was behind him. And Abraham and Sarah were aged, going on in days. The custom as to women had ceased to be to Sarah. And Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After my being old, shall there be pleasure to me, my Lord also being old? And Jehovah said to Abraham, Why has Sarah laughed at this, saying, Indeed, truly shall I bear, even I, who am old? Is anything too difficult for Jehovah? At the appointed time I will return to you, at that time of life, and there will be a son to Sarah. And Sarah denied, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, No, but you did laugh. And the man rose up from there and looked on the face of Sodom. And Abraham was going with them to send them away. And Jehovah said, Shall I hide from Abraham that which I am doing? And Abraham shall become a great and powerful nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I have known him, so that whatever he may command his sons and his house after him, even they may keep the way of Jehovah, to do righteousness and justice, to the intent that Jehovah may bring on Abraham that which he had spoken of him. And Jehovah said, The cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and their sin is exceedingly heavy. I will go down and see if they have at all done according to the cry coming to me, and if not, I will know. And the men faced around from there and went toward Sodom. And Abraham was still standing before Jehovah. And Abraham drew near and said, Is it so? Will you cut off the righteous with the wicked? Perhaps there are 50 righteous within the city. Is it so you will cut off and will not spare the place for the sake of the 50 righteous ones that are within it? Far be it from you to act in this way, to put to death the righteous with the wicked, that the righteous should be as the wicked. Far be it from you, the judge of all the earth. Shall he not do right? And Jehovah said, If I find 50 righteous within the city, in Sodom, then I will spare all the place because of them. And Abraham answered and said, Behold, I beg you, I have undertaken to speak to the Lord, and I am dust and ash. Perhaps there be lacking from the 50 righteous. Will you destroy all the city for 5? For the 5. And he said, If I find 45, there I will not destroy. And he continued still to speak to him and said, Perhaps 40 will be found there. And he said, I will not do it because of the 40. And he said, Please, do not let my Lord be angry, that I may speak. Perhaps 30 will be found there. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, Behold, now I have undertaken to speak to the Lord. Perhaps 20 will be found there. And he said, I will not destroy because of the 20. And he said, Let not my Lord be angry now, that I may speak only this time. Perhaps 10 will be found there. And he said, I will not destroy because of the 10. And when he had finished speaking to Abraham, Jehovah left, and Abraham returned to his place. Genesis chapter 19. And the 2 angels came into Sodom at evening, and Lot was sitting at the gate of Sodom. And Lot saw, and he rose up to meet them, and bowed his face to the earth. And he said, Behold now, my lords, please turn into your servant's house, and lodge, and wash your feet, and rise early, and go to your way. And they said, No, for we will lodge in the street. And he much urged them, and they turned into him, and came into his house. And he made a feast for them, and he baked cakes, and they ate. Before they had laid down, even the men of the city, the men of Sodom, surrounded the house, from the young to the aged, all the people from the limits. And they called to Lot, and said to him, Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us, that we may know them. And Lot went out to them to the door, and he closed the door behind him. And he said, My brothers, please do not act evilly. Behold, now I have 2 daughters who have not known a man. Please let me bring them out to you, and do to them as you see fit. Only do not do a thing to these men, because on account they came under my roof. And they said, Stand back. And they said, This one came in to visit, and must he always judge? Now we will do evil to you rather to them. And they pressed on the man, upon Lot violently, and drew near to break the door. But the men put out their hands, and pulled Lot to them into the house, and shut the door. And they struck the men at the door of the house with blindness, from the small to the great, and they struggled to find the door. And the men said to Lot, Who still is here to you? Bring out of this place your sons and your sons-in-laws and your daughters, and whoever belongs to you in the city. For we are about to destroy this place, for the cry of them is great before Jehovah, and Jehovah has sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out to speak to his sons-in-laws, those taking his daughters. Now I want to stop. They were not married yet. Remember, Lot said, Take my daughters who have not known man. So they were only betrothed. They were not, like we say, son-in-laws now, meaning already married. But Lot's 2 daughters were not married yet. They were just betrothed. They were engaged, so to speak. And he said, Rise up, go out from this place, for Jehovah is about to destroy the city. And he seemed as one joking to his sons-in-laws. And when the dawn rose, then the angel urged Lot, saying, Rise up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are found, lest you be cut off in the perversity of the city. And he lingered. And the men laid hold of his hand, and the hand of his wife, and on the hand of his 2 daughters, Jehovah having mercy on him. And they caused him to go out, and they put him down outside the city. And it happened as they led them outside, he said, Escape for your life. Do not look behind you, and do not stay in all the plain. Escape to the mountain, lest you be consumed. And Lot said to them, Oh, no, Lord. Behold, now your servant has found grace in your sight, and you have magnified your mercy, which you have shown to me in saving my life. And I am not able to escape to the mountain, lest some evil overtake me and I die. Behold, now this city is near, to flee there, and it is a little one. Please let me escape there. Is it not a little thing that my soul may live? And he said to him, See, I have accepted your face also as to this thing, without overthrowing the city for which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I am not able to do anything until you have come there. So the name of the city was called Zoar. The sun had risen on the earth, and Lot came into Zoar. And Jehovah rained brimstone and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from Jehovah out of the heavens. And he overthrew those cities, and all the plain, and all those living in the cities, and the produce of the ground. And his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham started up early in the morning, going to the place where he had stood there before Jehovah. And he gazed toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the plain. And he saw, and behold, the smoke of the country went up like smoke of a furnace. And when God destroyed the cities of the plain, God remembered Abraham, and he sent Lot out from the overthrow, when overturning the cities in which Lot lived. And Lot went up out of Zoar, and lived in the mount, and his 2 daughters were with him. For he feared to live in Zoar, and he lived in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. And the firstborn said to the younger, Our father is old, and there is no man in the land to come into us, as is the way of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and let us lie with him, that we may keep seed of our father. And they caused their father to drink wine that night. And the firstborn went in and lay with her father. And he did not know when she lay down, nor when she rose up. And on the next day it happened, the firstborn said to the younger, Behold, I lay with my father last night. Let us cause him to drink wine tonight also. And you go in and lie with him, so that we may keep alive seed of our father. And they caused their father to drink wine that night also. And the younger rose up, and laying with him, and he did not know when she lay down, nor when she rose up. And both the daughters of Lot were with child by their father. And the firstborn bore a son, and called his name Moab. He is the father of Moab in this day. And the younger also bore a son, and called his name Benami. He is the father of the Ammonites to this day. So we have the Moabites and the Ammonites. Genesis chapter 20. And Abraham moved from there to the land of the south, and lived between Kadesh and Shur, and stayed in Gerar. And Abraham said with regard to his wife Sarah, She is my sister. And Abimelech the king of Gerar sent and took Sarah. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night, and said to him, Behold, you are about to die because of the woman you have taken, she being married to a husband. And Abimelech had not come near her. And he said, O Lord, will you slay even a righteous nation? Did he not say to me, She is my sister? And she herself said, He is my brother. In the honor of my heart and the purity of my hands, I have done this. And God said to him in a dream, Yes, I know that you did this in honor of your heart. And I also withheld you from sinning against me. On account of this, I did not allow you to touch her. And now return to the wife of the man, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you shall live. And if you do not return her, know that you shall surely die, you and all that are yours. And Abimelech started up early in the morning, and called for all his servants, And he spoke all these words in their ears, and the men were greatly afraid. And Abimelech called Abraham, and said to him, What have you done to us? And in what have I offended you, that you have brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin? You have done things to me that ought not to be done. And Abimelech said to Abraham, What did you see that you have done this thing to me? And Abraham said, Because I thought, surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will kill me for my wife's sake. And yet she really is my sister, daughter of my father, only not daughter of my mother. And she became my wife. And when God made me wander from my father's house, I said to her, This is your kindness which you do to me. At every place where we come there, say of me, He is my brother. Abimelech took sheep and oxen and male slaves and slave girls and gave to Abraham, and he returned his wife Sarah to him. Abimelech said, Behold, my land is before you. Live where it pleases you. And he said to Sarah, Behold, I have given 1,000 of silver to your brother. Behold, it is for you a covering of the eyes to all who are with you. And with all this you are justified. And Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his concubines, and they gave birth. For Jehovah had closed up every womb of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, the wife of Abraham.